So now that we've established that there are real pitfalls to a kind of mismetabolism of even the most horrifying war depictions, can All Quiet on the Western Front stand up to this humongous challenge? Deterring life on Earth from war, as opposed to getting co-opted, romanticized, or rationalized. So here I go like a proud French Hotchkiss Model 1914 8mm Lebel machine gun with a rapid-fire film Critici-simian at All Quiet on the Western Front. Minor point, but nice touch. It cleverly kicks down the door with a close-up on some squishy fox cubs cuddled up in a den with mom. This resonated as something pretty darn clever, considering I feel like we've cemented a lot of images in our heads of an eternal theater of war, a 1,000-year-old death factory floor where even the scorched trees are all like hollowed infrastructure by now. But beautiful life, human and otherwise, thrived where days later we mass manufacture death. It's immediately depressing as hell. After which you're taken to a nightmare shot of bodies baked into the soil like they're the damp topography, the dirt itself. All the while bullets and shells pock the flesh landscape at no one, munitions meaninglessly meeting no living targets, aimlessness in multiple senses. Contrast that though with instances of extremely shot-convenient action of like a stray bullet perfectly finding a guy's eye as he reaches out to a compatriot. Sort of over-constructing the drama, which can unfortunately remove you from the horror of the indifference of the brutality, like in the corpse opening. The man-made kind of cosmic indifference is nightmarish. That you might be in the middle of a sentence, or yawning, or feeling the sun's warmth on your face when the machine calls your number. So, like another time, a panicking guy is instructed not to leave a bunker and magically catches a shell in the door's threshold, framed perfectly at the time of exit. Maybe don't screw with the impersonal indifference All Quiet and design real-life hell as horror jump scares. And speaking of jumps, it's not a complete sin, but it whiplashes from recruit frat boy enthusiasm to PTSD hell maybe too quickly, like the first 20 minutes. Consider like half of Full Metal Jacket is the nightmare of boot camp dehumanization, being an input for the machine before you see any Vietnam. Or how Jarhead is virtually entirely just waiting with your brothers, love 'em or leave 'em. And so the sense of community and camaraderie in All Quiet is kind of breakneck. And a lot of that time is stolen by pretty undercompelling interspersed tellings of the ceasefire effort helmed by Daniel Brühl. The exchanges here are a bit on the nose, of dudes chowing down like the steward of Gondor, while soldiers eat dirt elsewhere. But this easy image of singular prideful gluttons is not great analysis for a war in large part an inevitability of capitalism carving up colonies. This part of the story is also why it feels disjointed, and you sort of wish you could just spend more time with the boys than the brass. Compare 1917, which steeps and engrosses you by virtue of its one-take trickery. You could have gotten a more compact sense of cohesion, exhibiting the madness of fights killing thousands over a few hundred meters more. Spend more time in the meaningless to and fro of trench reach. That said, reliables like Brühl are good, and especially the performance of Albrecht Schuch as Cat. They all do what they can with characters not exactly fleshed out for motivation, like what is the war stealing from them, the who's back home, and the what's the dream that could have been, etc., etc. Those aren't really deep enough in this movie. The music choices are odd at times, incongruously like the Birdman freestyle drums, but it's probably a fair shake-up if we're so used to march snares, horns through the whole of time, or other cliches like tum, you know, that kind of thing. Also, the cinematography is pristine to a fault, and not exactly reinventing war filming, but that's also not a deal breaker here. All Quiet on the Western Front is as good an addition as any to the genre, worthy of a 6.5, but don't expect it to move the needle on dissuading the war horny.